Hello and welcome. It is International Women's Day, and not only that, we're in the middle of National Careers Week. So instead of using Zoom, today we're in our virtual events platform that we use for the Bookkeepers Summit and the Inspire Tour. So if you've never been here before, it's very like Zoom, and there are auto-generated captions that you should be able to switch on at the bottom of the screen. We'll try and speak clearly in case you're hard of hearing, because I know those captions can be a right headache. And you can also chat. The difference between Zoom, I suppose, and this platform is just in the right-hand menu that comes out like a drawer. You've got the session chat, and you've also got your Q&A in the same place there. So please do ask questions, get involved, tell us how you feel, and we'll try to get to you if you've asked a good question. And ultimately, I just want to say a big welcome and thank you for sharing your time with us today. National Careers Week is quite often focused at younger people, at school leavers. But what we hear so often at ICB is that bookkeeping is a great career for people later in life. And there are so many stories of women particularly finding it difficult to get the seniority they want, get a promotion, get paid probably once they've had kids, or if they're thinking of having kids. So I think that setting up your own business can be a way to get that control back. And whilst perhaps the theme of International Women's Day this year is break the bias. Now, you could argue that running your own business isn't breaking the bias, but hopefully, if nothing else, it might give you the opportunity to escape the bias. Now, National Careers Week is all about empowering change through education about careers. So we really want to celebrate the power of the bookkeeping career. And the theme this year for National Careers Week is hope. And what they're finding is that young people, like all of us, can be very overwhelmed by fear. And certainly we're all so exposed on the internet, in social media, to the catastrophic events happening in the news. I'm wearing Ukrainian colors today. But what we want to do is make sure today that you leave feeling hopeful, that you realize that you have the control, and hope starts within. And certainly at ICB, we believe that the best is yet to come and the future can only be better. ICB is here to help bookkeepers be the best they can be and support you in your career and your lifelong learning journey. Bookkeeping isn't just a qualification. So being part of ICB isn't just having the qualification that you gained in order to join ICB. It's not just about the professional status you get as an ICB member, but it's also about community. And we are here to work together, to support each other, and to share in each other's success. I hope my earrings aren't taking too much attention off what we're going to be doing today, but we certainly can't predict the future. We don't know what's going to happen in your business, but we can control how we react. And I think together we can really learn to become resilient and build that kind of emotional and physical, technical resilience to really do our best and take whatever life throws at us. So without further ado, I would like to welcome our three very inspiring women in bookkeeping. First up, we've got Kirsty St. John, who is a member of ICB. I'm hoping she'll pop up on the screen next to me.
Hi. Hello.
That was like magic. Hello, Kirsty. Thank you for joining us. Kirsty is obviously a member of ICB. You're a much loved branch chair, and you were also the only member to be honoured as a companion of ICB at last year's Youth Awards.
That
So
explains
sorry,
my
but you're very inspiring. Kirsty, can you just give us a bit of an introduction for anyone who doesn't know you about who you are, where you're based, and what your practice is like?
Yes, so I'm a limited company running in March in Cambridgeshire, so not far from Peterborough. It was just me for the last 12, 13 years, but I've just introduced my sister to the practice. I'll go on to that later. Sort of grown via various, we'll talk about subcontract, kind of trying to expand into taking on new areas of business that I'm not licensed to do, so hence the subcontract. and some more studying to go with that, but equally doing other work for other people where they're not sort of specialist on some softwares, and I'm happy to do it. So, you know, it's such a community that we're in that, you know, it goes both ways, and that's a really big part of the practice that wasn't there many years ago when I started, and it's a really big part of how we are, how good ICB is as a family. So it feels like a family.
Fabulous. Okay, right, let's next up to the stage. Let's welcome the fabulous Lara Manton. Not quite so magical this time. Ding! Lara, so some of our viewers today will know Lara because you won an award at the Luca Awards as well. Lara, can you tell us what that award was and give us a little bit of an introduction to you?
Yeah, so at 2021 Lucas, I won Small Practice of the Year. So I was shortlisted the year before and won last year. I haven't been part of the ICB quite as long as Kirsty, but I have been a member for over 11 years now. I've just taken my sole trader business limited, so I'm now LJM Bookkeeping Limited. I'm based the other side of Peterborough to Kirsty. I'm just inside Lincolnshire, and yeah, I've been. I started my business when I moved up here, so I'm just in Crowland near Stamford, and I also use a couple of other ICB members when I get busy, but it is just me. I have a virtual assistant as well that helps with, well, she's not so virtual because she's in Stamford, so she's 10 miles up the road from me, but she helps with some of the admin and some of the sort of internal stuff. And then when I get really busy, I have a lovely lady in Lincolnshire that helps me out, and I sort of ping some work her the way when I'm busy. And so the world of bookkeeping has definitely changed in the last 11 years. Kirsty will agree with me. It's great, it's amazing. There's a lot to contend with, but I think it's a completely different space to where it was when we joined, and I think that's a good thing. And it's great to see the community and see how the bookkeeping industry and the profile of bookkeepers is growing.
Oh, it's all feeling very special. So fabulous. Okay, so let's welcome to the stage the panel's newest member, where we've got the fabulous Rebecca Williams. There you go. Hello, Rebecca. I came across you when I was looking at YouTube, and you had quite a lot of lovely videos. Now, can you tell our audience a little bit about you? Because, you know, why did you decide to come to ICB when you've got other qualifications as well, haven't you?
Yeah, sure. So I actually started off my accountancy journey quite a few years ago, so well over a decade ago now. And I finished my AT, I finished my ACA, and then circa November, just gone, I was in touch with some lovely ladies, Lara included, who volunteered their time to actually come onto the YouTube channel to talk about their experiences, to talk about the ICB. And the more I got to learn about the ICB community, the more I decided I wanted to be a part of it, because they are just, the ladies that I've spoken to today have just been so lovely, and they speak so highly about the ICB, and I thought, what is it that I can do to get involved with ICB? So I decided to take the qualifications. I had no exemptions because I've worked in industry for the past 5 years and various other things. So yes, I've taken all of the exams, level 2 to level 4. And I have to say, I've been nothing but impressed with the ICB from the start. So yeah, I think the entirety of the ICB qualification is aimed at somebody who really wants to own their own practice, own their own space, be their own boss. And it's just really empowering. So yeah, that's a little bit about my story.
Amy, you've muted.
Oh yeah, there you go, you've just come back.
There I was waffling on about empowering. I muted myself. So we must all have a voice. That's what International Women's Day is about. Yes, thank you guys. So some talk on the qualifications there. Now, Kirsty, we've already established your in at least ICB the oldest one here. why did you decide to take some extra qualifications last year?
Okay, so we had, it was from Summit 2020, the first one that we were virtual, and Peter and Jackie were doing their usual inspiring talks, and I kind of, it just really made me realise that I'd done all this, you know, years in practice, but to be able to take the next steps, I really had to, you know, knuckle down and just get on with the study. And so trying to think, how on earth do you fit that in with working in practice was really difficult, but you know, just decided to do it. So in the process of the first 6 months of lockdown, so during 2021, this was, so second lockdown something, I did from M4 up to M8, and actually passed my M8 in June during the Inspire tour. And partly I was a bit inspired because my sister decided to do it, and of course I had to like stay ahead of her, didn't I? So she passed level 2, and I was like, all right, I've really got to get on with it. So yeah, we both passed level 3 in June last year. So and then I'm decided to do, and it was nice actually, because having done it for so long, I just bought the books, you know, from the shop and sort of did it self-study, and it, for me, it was revision, and it was interesting to see it from her point of view as a sort of fresh pair of eyes. But even, you know, even with, she's always liked accounts and stuff, but it was, it's interesting seeing it from a new person's eyes, having seen it from a, you know, and that's a nice tidy paperwork version of, you know, it's kind of a sterilized version of the world. And then I kind of showed her the real world, and you get this, missing that, and you've got to find the other half of this, and I've seen that £5.31. You know, it's just, you know, it's just the way our brains work, is that you have to follow things through and be determined. It works for me. And so yeah, we both managed to pass level 3, which is a scary exam, that M8, you know, doing the whole proctoring thing at home, not pleasant, but still better than turning up at a strange environment. So now she's doing the level 4 self-assessment, and I've got the level 4 drafting financial statements on the go. Trying to get one answers, two study books and one lot of answers, and trying to work my way through, which luckily is kind of, although I haven't done it, I've been doing it enough times to see the end results. I've just handed over some accounts to a fellow level 4 bookkeeper this week, you know, all prepped and balanced, and I even made a guess at the corporation tax, and he was very annoyed because I came back to the penny, and I'm like, yes. So in theory, nice simple set of accounts, you know, we can do them. There is nothing stopping us apart from, you know, passing that exam. We've got to, obviously some situations are far more complicated, I realize that, and at times, and that's part of being, you know, responsible for your own actions. You know, it's like, I'm not comfortable doing that, I need to pass that on to somebody else, or call in some help, or ask a friend. You know, again, we've got various WhatsApp chats, we've got branch meetings. It's like, I haven't come across this before, can anyone just, you know, someone else has done it, someone else. It's very rare that we invent a problem. So, you know, go for your community, really helps.
I'm sorry to can we all mute when we're not speaking, because I can hear a little bit of feedback, but the thing to remember is, obviously, don't do what I did, remember to unmute yourself. You'd think I'd know by now. Yeah, so I love that there is actually a really practical way to use the community, and that you can really get like actual kind of tangible support from other bookkeepers, and that idea of becoming more confident in something, and even if you don't decide to do the whole tax returns and everything, it can still benefit.
Because we've done it enough times to kind of prep it to pass to an accountant and then deal with what they give us back, you get to understand, well, I know that they're going to ask me for this, and I know that they're going to ask me for this, so I'll just give it to them up front, you know, and I know that they're going to need that balanced and this reconciled and sort that out. So, you know, it's like a little challenge now. If I can hand it over and it doesn't ask me any questions, it's like score 1 for Kirsty. Obviously, you know, if he does ask me a question, I'll hopefully answer it. But, you know, it's just, but again, that's like an internal work ethic for me. So that's how I prefer to work.
I love it. So we did recently put a couple of articles into the newsletter about the relationship between bookkeepers and accountants. Rebecca, and you've obviously come from a role within businesses, and have you worked in accountancy practices, or have you worked in industry?
Yes, so I spent the first 8 years of my career working in practice. So I moved around a lot. So I started off working with PKF, who later got taken over by BDO. And then I moved to a smaller practice because I felt as if that suited me a little bit better. I wanted to see the end-to-end process. And then shortly after I qualified with ACA, I decided I'd take a step into industry, because it's quite funny. Sometimes when you're working in practice and vice versa, you wonder if there's something you're missing out on. So you hear a lot about commercial practice and, you know, the differences between working in practice and working in industry. And I thought, I want to be an all-rounded accountant, so let's go ahead and move into industry. And yeah, so I've worked there for the last 5, going on 6 years now, and worked with professionals who are SEMA qualified, ACCA, ACA, AAT, ICB, you name it.
I'm curious, sorry to interrupt, Amy, do they do things in different ways? You know, having come from different kind of qualifications, it's interesting how many ways are there to skin a cat, you know?
There's the thing is, I think the different qualifications cover different aspects. So like with SEMA, a lot of it is focused at management accounting, whereas with ACA, for example, that's more reporting, more IFRS, more getting into the nitty-gritty detail of concepts and standard accounting. But I find there's a huge amount of crossover between the different qualifications, and particularly I found in the last 2 years since setting up the YouTube channel and talking to all these different students and talking to professionals, that there is that crossover, but each of the different qualifications, say, teach you a different skill. And that's why at this point in time I've taken the AAT, ACA, and now ICB, because I've learned something different from every one of them.
Wow. Laura, we did put in our kind of show notes that you have now managed to get quite a big revenue going. Was that your intention when you first started? And is it the kind of thing that you've got to set out to do or you won't make it? You know, is it right for everybody?
It wasn't my intention when I first started. It wasn't even my intention probably 3 years ago. It's one of those things where, for me, I didn't have any expectations. I was very lucky in that I didn't need my income to sort of meet something. I wasn't looking to replace a previous income. I was just seeing where my business went. So it's quite funny that I seem to have sort of increased and then plateaued for a few years, increased and then plateaued for a few years. And then this latest increase is like quite a big increase. And it's quite funny. It's like it wasn't expected, and it wasn't until I sat down and actually looked at it and went, okay, I'm going to have to go VAT registered, and okay, I'm going to be on the 6-figure threshold, that I was actually like, hang on, how did I get here? First of all, it's quite funny because it's just, I think it's a bit of it is I've changed what I do and how I support my clients and the clients that I like working with. So I deal with a lot of limited companies with small teams where I sort of fit into their team and provide them with the daily resources. And then I'm not doing sort of as many tax returns, or I'm not actually qualified for SAT. And then they've got an accountant that does the year-end stuff. But I'm there taking away all that stress and that hassle on a daily basis. So that is something that I really like doing and I really enjoy. And I found that actually it's turned into sort of the most profitable vein of my work. And because I'm dealing with, I mean, some of my clients have up to £10 million turnover, so having someone that can actually take away the financial headache and give them the understanding of their numbers and how to sort of be there to help them with their numbers, especially over the last couple of years with businesses needing all sorts of reports and all sorts of up-to-date figures to be able to apply for grants and funding, is something that I've really enjoyed, and sort of that's what's pushed my business onto the next level.
That's really interesting. It really speaks to the value of the bookkeeper. How do you manage your time? Because presumably if you're going to be that kind of external in-house person, you can't do that for an unlimited number of businesses.
Yeah, so I have 2 or 3 that it's sort of built in, some of it's built into my packages. So it's like if they want that, they're going to get response within hours, or half a day or a day, then they pay more for having me on hand. it's been a lot easier with COVID because obviously a lot of us been working from home. So I'm not on site at clients as much. So obviously being able to sort of be there, and even if it's a quick answering questions, a lot of it might be WhatsApp or Skype or whatever else. So it might just be a 2-minute question of, can you remember when I paid this? Or do you know where I paid that? And having cloud-based accounting systems means that I can just go in and find that really, really easily. And then being there to just ping back a quick answer that might just reassure them of something that they thought they knew, but they weren't entirely sure they knew. And then, as I say, I've priced it slightly differently. So if you want sort of all access, you pay more. Whether you use that access or not, you pay a bit more than someone that's happy to wait a day and a half for a reply, for example.
So you were touching on this earlier, but do you think that sort of cloud bookkeeping revolution has completely kind of enabled the kind of bookkeeper you are?
Yes, certainly. I mean, 11 years ago, it was Sage. And now I have one client on Sage, and that's it. I actually came to Xero from a client where they were part of a franchise, and the franchise headquarters wanted them on cloud-based software so they could see the whole UK and not have to wait for people to send their Sage backups in. So I've been using Xero for 7+ years.
Oh, I can think of 2013. I started Xero.
Yeah. So, but then everyone was like, didn't know anything about it. It was the disruptor in the market. There's a lot of disruptors in the market now, but it was the disruptor in the market, and now the amount of things that you can add on to Xero that mean that I can do almost a financial controller role from home, because I've got Xero, I've got Dext, I've got Comma, I've got Next Minute, I've got Approval Max, literally the whole. You can build this accounting ecosystem specifically for each of your individual clients, and you can service them fully from home. I've got clients in Wimbledon and Wakefield. Now, I wouldn't be able to do that if I had to be on Sage, had to be in their offices, having to see physically the paperwork and put those figures in. But with all the tools that are out there nowadays, with bank feeds, even just bank feeds make such difference. Yes, they're not always right. Yes, double check them against the bank statements, but they make such a difference being able to offer real-time accounting to a vast number of clients. And there are so many different software options, not just that will help your clients, but can also help you to provide those services.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. The software makes a big difference, but also I like Lyra's comment about we're a key part of lots of people's teams, and you know, the fact that they might only talk to us once a week, for example, but you know, without that once a week, they'd be lost, because you know, they've got like a fifth of us, because they don't need a person every day of the week, but they need a bit of a person to be there, and that makes such a big, you know, we're a key part, as you can tell at Christmas when you get the odd nice hamper and things like that come through, but a key part of lots of teams. So it's fab. It kind of adds to the work happiness.
I think that's right what Kirsty says, and for the clients it's beneficial for them. How much would it cost a client to have a full-time or even a part-time 20 hours a week accounts person based in their office? They've got to have desk space, they've got to have IT solutions, they've got to have all of these things. And how do they know they're going to be utilising them to the full? Whereas with us, they can have that support. They don't need any of those things. We're there when they need us. We're there to do all the compliance. We can do the VAT returns. We can make sure everything's done. Most of the time we might be working away in the background and they don't realise it's happening. But actually, when they need us, they do. And when they need those numbers, they know they're there, and they're getting that for a fraction of the cost that it would be for them to actually employ a full-time person, especially one as highly qualified as ICB members are. You'd be looking at, well, in London, you'd be looking at like £45,000 plus, wouldn't you, for one person? So you're like, okay, well, actually, you can provide that service to lots of different clients, and they're paying a fraction of that cost, but they're still getting the support they need.
But just touching on that as well, Laura, if you do hire a bookkeeper, and specifically one who is in the under the ICB qualification, you don't just employ somebody who has serviced one client. They're servicing many different clients from many different backgrounds, various different industries. And what you're bringing to the table is not just your knowledge, but it's also best practice. So what you know, what you've seen in one company might work for another company.
Oh, that's really important, Rebecca. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, thousands of hours and cost, time, energy, basically, with month end and financial reporting. So there's that element of it as well, which I think a lot of bookkeepers, they're not very forthcoming with how good they really are. And I think that's one of the things that I like to push across, specifically, like I say, on the YouTube channel. Just, they're invaluable, really.
And so you work as an FC, don't you? I mean, what kind of results do companies get when they've got a good FC, be they virtual, part-time, outsourced, in-house? How much difference can that make to a business?
I think it's the difference between somebody who's looking at figures and simply reporting on figures. Because anybody can do that, let's be honest. You can look at something and say, oh, did you realise that sales have gone up 10%? Well, yes, I can use an Excel spreadsheet and work that out for myself. Thank you. But when you have a good FC, or you even just a good accountant, generally speaking, it's the difference between having that added value element. And I think it's what makes a good bookkeeper and a good accountant is somebody who can translate that information easily to somebody who's not financial and say, are you aware of X, Y, and Z that we need to look at this month? Or are you aware of this compliance section? But not just making them aware of it, talking them through the process and making that streamlined and easy for them so they're not panicking. Because I think half the time that's what they're looking for in a bookkeeper and accountant, somebody to take that stress and, again, that energy off them and being able to sort that out for them whilst they concentrate on running the business. So
that's actually how I got one of my first clients. My first was my now ex-husband, but the second one, she wanted someone who didn't talk accountant speak. She had all these reports in accountant with debtors and creditors and put it in simple terms of they owe you, they've owed you for a long time, we need to ring and chase it in. These people, all you owe all these people, you owe these people the most, you owe these people the longest, pick and choose who you're going to pay, who do you need the most first, who you're going to be on stock with, kind of put it in priorities that they understand. And then it becomes that's where we add, our interpretation of this is the bits you need to know, the rest we can deal with. And, we constantly reminding them of deadlines of you need to pay your VAT by this date and this sort of thing. They might understand it and you might have told them once, but they'll still ask 2 or 3 times.
And I think most businesses are not living in the past, they're living in the future. So the unfortunate thing is when you work in practice, and in my experience as an accountant, you're looking at historic data that has been and gone. There's nothing you can do about it now. That's happened. Whereas if you have a good bookkeeper, or again, a good accountant, they're looking forward for you and looking at things like cash forecasting. Where are we in terms of the business? What can we do? Can we look at marketing, etc., and really building the business up? So I think if you have a bookkeeper with you, they're not just a bookkeeper, they're almost a business partner holding your hand through that process. So I feel that's invaluable.
I think the other thing with that, and a bit about what you said before, Rebecca, is as well that we can sort of anticipate what bottlenecks and what issues the client might have and bring them solutions. So it might not even be something that's within our remit, but I got asked the other day for a client that wants to look at how they're quoting all their clients now. So they were looking at, okay, we've got this spreadsheet, is this right? What do your other clients do? Is there a way that we can make this work better internally? So it's something that I don't get involved in at all, but they came to me to ask for my advice to help them solve a problem that they knew might be coming up, or see whether it was a problem. And so I think there's a lot of things, especially with all the solutions that are out there nowadays. And if you've been in practice a while and you're working with different client types, it might be that something that actually you don't think is relevant really is. And you can sort of anticipate what might be coming up because you've had some experience, or you've seen something in somewhere else, and you can say, okay, well, actually, you're doing it this way, but if you do it that way, does that then help your business internally? So it might not even be a financial thing, but it might just be an internal process thing. But if you can help them with the internal processes, then that's another thing off their list. It might make their internal team more efficient and help them run their business better.
So it's clear that there's a huge amount of impact that you can have as a bookkeeper or an FC, or however you present yourself, however you identify. And it's clearly obviously very satisfying to do it, but presumably it comes with a lot of responsibility, and your clients are going to ask you for stuff and you're going to feel like you want to say yes. Women particularly are known for being often consumed with self-doubt, obsessed with being perfect. And, you know, studies show that all sorts of things. Men will apply for jobs that they're not really qualified for. Women will not apply unless they're overqualified. You know, what perhaps, Rebecca, what do you do when you feel, you know, do you have moments where you feel crippled with self-doubt, and what do you do to get yourself out of that?
If, you know, I could fill a book with the moments of when I felt self-doubt, but, you know, there was a moment in time, I think this comes with experience, but I'd say circa maybe 4 or 5 years into my career, I said to myself, you know, you're never going to be perfect, Rebecca, so accept it. You are not going to be perfect. And I said, okay, fair do. Well, what is it that I can do then to bring myself up to speed where, say, somebody's asked me a question that I don't understand? But I think the luxury of being in the industry that we are in is that you've got so many CPD courses, etc., at your fingertips. There's so many different communities to be a part of, that if you don't understand something at any point, you ask the question you don't understand, it's okay to say, firstly, no, I don't understand, and hold your hand up, and secondly, to say, I don't know, but I will find out for you. And equally, in terms of qualifications, job roles, etc., I can hand on heart say that every single job that I've applied for in the past, I've always thought to myself, I can't do it. I'm not qualified enough. All those self-doubt moments come into your head, and you start thinking, oh, should I really do this? You know, I'm going to make a fool of myself. And then I think, no, there's the other hand of it. If you really don't know, say in the interview, you know, you've asked me a question, I have no experience in that. However, I'm more than happy to learn. As long as you show me, I'll put the time and effort in, and I'll turn up every day and do what's required of me. So I think everybody has those moments of self-doubt, but I think you just really need to, I think acceptance comes into it. Accept what you don't know and then be willing to do something about it.
I think what Rebecca says is true as well. We've got such a great community of bookkeepers, and Kirsty will agree. When we started, there wasn't any of this. It was. That's
why I started in branch, because there wasn't one.
Yeah, it was. You were quite isolated, which was obviously we had all the ICB knowledge. We had that. We passed our exams. We knew that in theory we knew what we were doing, and it was just putting it into practice. And nowadays there are so many good groups out there that won't judge you if you want a second opinion. And it is a case of, as Rebecca says, no, but I can find out, or no, but I have someone that can help. So if you're not confident, if you're not qualified, if you don't feel like you have to know the answers to everything, because you will never. The world of bookkeeping and all the regulations with HMRC change so quickly, and you might have something thrown at you that you've never dealt with before. So it's okay to actually say no, but, because you can then go away, you can find out, you can refer them to someone else within the ICB or a service provider or whoever they need, and they will still appreciate that. You don't need to feel like everything's on your shoulders, and there are so many as CPD courses, different bits of software, different providers out there. And you can make links with other bookkeepers, as Kirsty says, if you want to send a level 4 out or payroll out, or
it's like even they haven't just employed one person; they've employed us with an army behind us, and
yeah,
you know, that is how it is. Have you ever heard? I mean, you know, it's sad, but bookkeepers, when we get chatting, we'll always have a nightmare client with a story to tell to the other people, obviously anonymous and blah blah blah, but someone will always go, oh, but I had this person thing. And sometimes, you know, it's nice to swap horror stories, but sometimes you do pick up really useful tips while you're at it, and you go, really? And how did you solve that? And you go, that would apply to my chap who does this. And you know, so even without knowing, you know, every day is a school day. It really is. Helps with a bottle of wine, but you know.
Every day is a school day and a drinking opportunity. I was just going to say, I'd sort of forgotten that there was a lovely chat, and thank you everyone for your comments. Susanna, Adebola, Sarah, Linda, Angela, Paul, hi, all just saying thank you. This is really reassuring. Now we have got one question in the Q&A. Sarah Kitchener is saying, but how do you actually structure your working day and put aside time for CEO work? Because of course you are business owners, and we see time and time again bookkeepers putting more time and effort into their clients' businesses than theirs. So how do you find that balance? Maybe that's a good one for Lara. With your massive turnover.
It is hard. I have to admit, my husband did tell me off when at 10 p.m. last week I was doing some bits on the changeover to the limited company. But again,
oh, sorry, you've turned your own business into a limited company recently.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Yeah, and having the nice headache of HMRC because I managed to break the agent services account, so that's kind of. But yeah, so it's one of those things that, again, there are lots of solutions to help you internally. So, and they don't have to be paid. So things like Asana, keeping track of deadlines, keeping track of what's going on, what client work you might need to do, all those kind of things, all the way up to the Brilliant Centre and Accountancy Manager. Structuring a system that works for you, so you have as less work as possible to do on your sort of internal things, and make things as easy as possible for you internally is great. So I hate quoting. I am not a saleswoman whatsoever. I can talk about bookkeeping all day long, but if you asked me for a price, I then panic. So I use Go Proposal. Some people might say, well, it was really expensive. To me, it's worth that because it takes away the stress and the headache of me having to do that and panic and probably underprice as part of it as well, because I'm because as you say, we all want to be pleasing, and sometimes I've had to get into the mindset of, if someone says no, that's okay. Don't keep going down until they say yes. That doesn't do anyone any favors. So there's things like Go Proposal and Centre and Zama and all these things that you can add on that then make yourself and your internal bits a lot easier. Now, that's also where I've got my lovely virtual assistant, because she then helps me with things like my social media planning and lots of other bits around running a business and staying visible, and doing some bits like if I'm doing a newsletter out to clients or I'm doing an update for clients, I can give her the background. She'll go away and sort of write it up. I'll check it over before I can send it. And just doing so, having some of that support. And again, she's on a basis a bit like we are. So I pay a package per month for her support, and she will help me with all sorts of things. And actually, again, it might not be client-based, but that takes my stress away. So using the same resources that we're saying to our clients to use, we need to use them internally as well. So if there is something that is causing you stress or causing you headache, find the easiest and best way for you to do that, whether that's software, whether that's outsourcing, whether it's having your own system set up, whether you only deal with certain types of clients because you know that you can take those on and you know how to onboard them in the right way. Whatever that looks like for you, find what works for you and your business. You might not find it right away. I mean, as I say, I've been running 11 years, but as you start to build your business, find which bits you like doing and which bits you don't, and then find a solution for the bits that either you find really difficult or you don't like doing.
I think that's really important advice, isn't it? You're nodding your head there as well, Kirsty. I just wanted to say that, Lara, you are going to Kirsty's branch meeting tonight, aren't you? Everybody's welcome.
Yes.
What are you actually talking about? I feel like this is real advanced bookkeeping.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
normally an early adopter, but I'm yet to try this.
Stream Deck.
I'm talking about Stream Decks tonight. So I'm talking about how you can use devices that aren't traditionally used in bookkeeping and accounting to help make yourself as efficient as possible and reduce the manual work.
I was trying to explain it to my mum and dad. I was telling them about the meeting at the weekend, and my 2 days time, 15-year-old son piped up and went, oh yeah, YouTubers use it. That's why it's called a Stream Deck, because they can line things up ready to stream. And I'm looking at him aghast going, oh my God, I've got something in common with my child. This is so weird. So yeah, he's quite impressed. So I said he might come along tonight, Lara, and he'll quiz you.
But yeah, now that all of the branch meetings are virtual, you can go along to that. And Julia is saying, yeah, I remember physically going to evening meetings with ICB.
I enjoyed my work. I went to Scotland, Wales, been to Devon, went down to Sussex. You know, I think I've gathered quite a few ICBA miles along the way.
Doing it virtually. Well, we have kind of threatened the return of the Inspire Tour, and we asked everybody where we should go. We've whittled it down to 7 locations, 7 cities around the UK. You can just guess what those are in the chat, please. But we're going to do 7. I was like, we're going to do 4 maximum. But we are actually going to do 7 because Jean and Gary cannot be restricted to just 4 locations. So they're desperate to come and see you. But we're covering all sorts of things. Obviously, we've only got a day. And I know a lot of people have said, I also want to see it virtually. So our plan of attack really this year is when we do an in-person event that includes CPD, we will also make CPD available online as well. So you can catch up, but of course you can come and see us because I think we're all desperate for a bit of in-person meetings. But, you know, do what suits you. Just like Lara said, it's like running a business. Do what suits you. Don't feel pressurized to do the other. And we're also on the cusp of announcing the Bookkeepers Summit, which is going to be taking place during Global Bookkeeping Week in the 2nd week of November. Now, we're very excited to be coming back in person, but also doing a virtual thing as well. So you get the best of both worlds. And I think the really good thing about the summit, and also the Inspire Tour to a certain extent, although it's a bit smaller, is you have the opportunity to meet these software providers. So no doubt Go Proposal will be there and some of the other ones we've mentioned. And if you want to book into that branch meeting tonight, you can do. Rebecca, what do you think is really important if you're thinking about sort of tech? You know, what tech do you use? Have you sort of found yourself using the same sort of tech wherever you are in your career, or do you like trying new things?
I love trying new things. I think if I wasn't an accountant the same way that I am now, I'd probably be a systems accountant because I love systems. I love learning about systems. I love finding out how they work and new things you can do with them. Proper nerd when it comes to systems, but not ashamed to admit it.
I'm sure there's loads of people watching today who that resonates really well with. Big systems people.
When I can find something in a system that can do something that makes my life a little bit easier, that's when you get those little fist pump moments. And like with the Stream Deck, I've yet to have a look at that in its entirety, but I know it's going to save time later down the line. So I might be joining that event later. But I've used Sage, I've used QuickBooks, Xero, I've used Go Proposal, I've used CCH, Iris, bespoke systems. I was an auditor for 7 years, so I've used, I don't know how many different systems across the many years. So I don't want to say I've seen it all, because I'm sure there's something I haven't. But
it's like magic when, for example, you get like the one SaaS that makes eBay talk to QuickBooks, and you kind of, you set it off and you kind of go, oh, and then you look the next day and there's like, loads of transactions there and they happen all by magic. And I've got another one where there's a link from Shopify to QuickBooks and it all happens. And you go, ooh, obviously, you get the odd back query, but yeah, it's like, it is magic because you think you remember keying all of those individually, and it's like, wow, okay. Hence the don't charge by the hour, which is a whole nother story, but there you go.
In the past 5 to 10 years, we know, Xero's come out, QuickBooks has come out, and there's been a few other different types of software that were never there, and definitely not when I started out in practice. But it's not, I get this question a lot regarding software and whether that's going to replace bookkeepers and accountants, which obviously it's not, because you do need somebody there who has the knowledge and can interpret the data. But it just makes our lives a little bit easier and stops that manual processing element. So you can focus on the business and focus on adding that value. So I'm all for systems, all for new learning, continual learning, whatever I can get my hands on, new training videos on Xero, etc. Yeah, I'll spend hours, absolutely hours going through.
Oh yeah, Xero Tax, that was a new discovery for me. And I was like, yeah. I just do that. And wow. And I sent it to someone to check for me going, it looks right to me, but that's amazing.
No, it's
Very,
brilliant.
very.
I think what I found, I picked up a client recently because they were asking on one of the Xero user forums. Their accountant had suggested they set up Xero and then told them that they had no idea how to use Xero. So she was like starting to ask for advice. And we sat down and we did some training. So I did some training with her and went through it all. And she actually turned around and went, and I went, right, okay, so this is the package for ongoing training, or would you just like me to do your VAT returns? And she turned around and she went, actually, can you just do the VAT returns? Because she said, this isn't what I'm good at. That's the thing. Clients come to us and they don't have a numbers-based background. They run their business because that's what they're good at and that's what they enjoy. We run a bookkeeping business, hopefully, because that's what we're good at and that's what we enjoy. So sometimes you need to remember that. So clients will come to you and they might be using Xero and they might be using QuickBooks, but actually they don't understand anything behind it. So they don't understand when they're getting it wrong sometimes until that sort of last bit, or it's giving them a headache, or they're having that stress around it because they're panicking that they might be doing it right, but they're not convinced they are. So actually, again, it comes to being able to take that stress off. And when I went to her and went, right, okay, here's your package for whatever a month, and then here's your VAT returns, which was more than double. She said, no, hang on, I said, actually, thinking it through, I'd be a lot more confident having that support, but also having you do it, because I'm not panicking then at the end to say, hang on, am I doing it right? Am I not doing it right? Am I going to get in trouble with HMRC? And again, HMRC scares a lot of clients. Even if they think they're doing it right, or even if they are doing it right, HMRC scares a lot of clients. So having that knowledge and having that confidence in our skills and them being confident in our skills means that they can just hand that over and actually get back to running their business.
It's surprising how many clients they think they're doing the right thing. One guy used to come and have a confession with me because, you know, from on first glance, you look at his QuickBooks and there's nothing waiting in his bank feed and it's all, oh, well done you, haven't you done well? And I'll go into it in a little bit more detail and, you know, well, why does that customer still owe you? Oh, no, they've paid. Really? Well, where's their money? Oh, they've put that money against that person's because it's the same amount and they didn't think to check the name. And, you know, you have to undo a lot of things and then which makes it look awful. And then you redo them and then suddenly it's magic. And I do love a good bank reconciliation because you know where you are. You know, that's what really happened. And it's just the way we are, detectives.
And I think even the case is I've taken on clients from accountants that have been in exactly that same situation where the accountant's been a little bit lazy, or they've had someone in that doesn't know how to use Xero despite they think they do. And then I think I saved clients £6,500 in VAT because the accountant was just cash coding everything without actually looking at any of the source documentation. And he just assumed, he hadn't realised that Go Cardless now had VAT on its fees. And there was a year's worth of Go Cardless fees that he just put without VAT on it. And things like that they hadn't actually been checking the source documentation. And actually, yeah, it saved clients £6,500 in VAT. Because I undid basically a whole year's worth of bookkeeping and redid it with the source documentation, which didn't actually take me a huge amount of time, and it saved the client a lot of money in the long run. So you can, that's the thing is, if you're doing it, these softwares are out there, but you need to be doing it correctly and you need to not be taking the easy way out. There are a lot of things that we can use to our advantage to make that job really easy, but even big accounting firms will take the easy way out, whereas us as bookkeepers have a lot more attention to detail and a lot more sort of, we're working with the client on a regular basis, so we're able to pick up on things or notice things. And you just think and you just look at it and go, I'm sure that's right. And then actually if you dig a bit deeper and sort it out for them, you can end up saving them a lot of money.
You also know, I was asked to do a health check on a client's things, and exactly like you said, they've double counted sales, they've double counted expenses, because, you know, and it's kind of, I made the profit and loss kind of, oh, but it's halved. It's like, yeah, but it's better because that's half, but also that's half as well, you know. So, but also by using the software, you know where the likely traps are, like, you know, the strange way of doing refunds on this one, or the strange way you have to attach a thing to that one, and you just get to know. You probably didn't know about this little trick, and so I'll just, oh yes, okay, so here's a few things I need to fix. You know, just knowing the likely areas that a client might go wrong. They can possibly do the day-to-day stuff, but get a bit stuck on the tricky, like credit notes, and, you know, to that too is where we add our experience and our value to it. So
That all sounds wonderful. And poor Linda Turner just posted to say that some mum at the playground said, "Oh, I don't need a bookkeeper. QuickBooks does the bookkeeping. That's the easy part. I need an accountant." How wrong this lady is. Does anyone have a zinging one-liner that you would give back to this playground lady? An easy pitch, she says.
I couldn't comment.
I think it comes back to that. I would probably say it's that rubbish in, rubbish out, isn't it? If that makes sense. When the accountant gets that QuickBooks, how much work is that accountant going to have to actually unpick it and get a set of figures that are correct? If you're going into it with no knowledge and no bookkeeping knowledge, I mean, there is a chance that actually it's perfect, but there's a very, very small chance. And at the end of the day, I feel sorry for the accountant.
Yeah, and like you say, it can actually, it doesn't just make you understand the figures more, help you sleep better at night. It can actually mean more money claimed back on your VAT. So a tangible benefit for the business. So well, good luck to that lady with her QuickBooks. Somebody mentioned Shopify. Kirsty, you mentioned Shopify. I wanted to say that the wonderful Jackie Mount is doing a webinar on the 15th of March, next Tuesday, I think that is, about cash sales. So it's if you've got e-commerce businesses you work with, or even cash in, like literally cash, pubs, taxis, and she's got some good technical support she's going to be giving you next Tuesday. So that's for members. And also on that note, we've got loads of webinars next week. On Monday, we've got a webinar with Ian Holloway and the Pensions Regulator. They're talking about pensions. And on Thursday, we've got a webinar dedicated to AML, anti-money laundering. You've probably heard of it. There's been lots of chat on Facebook about that. So do please check into that webinar on Thursday. That will be up on the website later today. So we'll get some answers for you on AML and leave you feeling confident, as you are with the rest of your bookkeeping as well. And thank you, Kirsty. Kirsty's also popped a link to her branch meeting. So I think we're probably running out of time. We've had a lovely morning. I just wonder if maybe you could just tell us a little bit more, Kirsty, about when you're ready for that next stage in your business, because you've obviously started working with your sister. What made you feel like you were ready for that kind of next stage? And what is it about, how do you think your life would have been if you weren't a self-employed bookkeeper, basically? Is it kind of enabling something for you?
Yeah, I've always wanted to run my own business. I just never thought that I had a magic invention to be able to, be a business owner. So the fact that I can be a business owner and help other people, as it happens, lots of other people. But, I've, lifelong always, I think I must have been a horrible employee because, there's always a better way to do things and that's something. But I was a good buyer. I was a really good buyer. The other thing about, you said earlier about resilience is that as you get to grow your practice, it's good to be able to have multiple clients, because we've probably all come across a stage where I had a very large payroll practice and it was becoming a bit scary because I was the only one that could do it. But also they were a bit scared that I was the only one that could do it. And they took a risk, challenge type thing and decided that they had to go to a bureau. So I kind of helped them with the handover. But obviously that's like a significant chunk of business that you lose when that one client goes. And I had to find others to replace it. So it's just always worth keeping an eye on, obviously you want to be good and you want to be a useful part of lots of teams sort of thing, but rather than, you don't want all of your income to necessarily come from that one person if in fact you are replaceable. So just kind of, be aware of that as this a slight note of caution on that one. Okay,
fantastic. Angela, just briefly, Angela advised you've asked about how to find people locally. Definitely reach out to the branch network. We've got an ICB members group on Facebook, which tends to be a bit busier than our forum. The forum, unfortunately, you can't even share photos on the forum, but it's being redone. So watch that space. But if you just search for ICB members group on Facebook, I believe you're a member now, Angela Weiser. I know you come to lots of events, but if you're not a member yet, join in membership and come to a branch meeting. Lara, now that you've got, you're VAT registered, you're a limited company, how do you, what I really want to know is like, how do you know what your limits are, and are there limits to what can, what your business can do?
I think you're the only person that sets your limits. So obviously you build the business how you want it to be. So for me, at the moment, I'm not taking on new clients because I know that I want to be comfortable with the service that I'm offering, the ones I've got at the moment. And I know there's other people out there that would say, well, I only want to work a 3-day week, or I want to be able to do this, that, or the other. So I think you should be the only one to decide what your limits are. I'm very bad at sticking to my limits. I'll say I'm not going to take any clients on, and then someone would call me up tomorrow and oh, it's really interesting. Yes, I'll help.
Say no, yeah.
Yeah, my husband tells me off all the time about that. So I think the only limits there are the ones you put in place for yourself. There is so much that you do. I know, obviously, there's people out there that have got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 team members. If you want to go down that route, then brilliant. You could turn this into a £1 million business, a 7-figure business, if you want to go down that route. But it's okay not to go down that route. It's okay to make your business whatever you want it to be. So if you don't want to get to 6 figures, you don't have to get to 6 figures. If you want to be you on your own and you only want to do self-assessments, do that. There is so much room within the bookkeeping industry for you to have a practice that works to you, to your limitations, to whatever you decide those limitations to be, doing whatever you want them to be, whether that be payroll, whether that be self-assessment, whether that be core bookkeeping, that actually you don't need to compare yourselves to any of us out there. You can take days like this as inspiration to have confidence in yourself and to work out what you want your business to look like. But there is nothing that says that you have to do a certain amount, and there's nothing to say that you can't have a £1 million bookkeeping business, or that you can't run a firm with 20 staff, or that actually you can run a 6-figure business off your own back without any staff. So do
right,
what you want.
It's very much what you want. I didn't necessarily answer your question properly earlier, Amy. Sorry. The limits are how many hours in the day do you want to work, obviously, as to how at that point you need to think, do I want staff and sisters or whatever? But you also have to think, do you want to do the work, or do you want to run a business where other people are doing the work? Then it becomes, the whole passive income thing where I can take a week off and the business still runs without me. Or are you wanting to just do the work? If you're happy just doing the work, and that's fine, and that's what has been for years, it's got to get done somehow or other. But you're right, I used to take time off to go and pick up child, do assemblies and that sort of thing. As he's little, as they get bigger, you can do more hours. I have to stop work right now because my office is next to his bedroom, so that's a natural stopping point. When I come back to work after tea, I have to stop because he's gone to Pit-catting annoys him because he's gone to bed. I'm sure Rebecca's got something to say on the subject as well, working hard.
Chatting keeps them up, does it? Oh no. Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, Rebecca, do you have any kind of final thoughts on being a woman in bookkeeping, anyone considering a career in bookkeeping and accounting, and what does the future hold?
Yeah, I think my final thoughts are just that you can take your career really wherever you want to take it. If you want to put in time and effort to become the next CEO, CFO, and work in a company, you can do that. You can become FD. Equally, if you're happy and you want to have flexibility in your life, you can do that as well. There's no right, wrong way. You don't need to compare yourself to others. You can very much just take your career where you want it to. And yeah, there's I think I'll end it there. Just be who you want to be, do what you want to do, and be happy.
Fantastic. Thank you to my fabulous 3 panelists. Brilliant, inspiring women in bookkeeping. I hope you've enjoyed yourself. We are going to be in the lounge now. Obviously, it's lunchtime. You can access this on your phone, so you've got no excuse. But wherever you are in your journey, whether this is the start, the end, whether you're choosing bookkeeping to spend more time with your family, whether it's to spend more time lying on your back on the sofa, whether you're on your way to becoming a chartered accountant, you know, bookkeeping could be a fantastic opportunity for you to take control of your career, and do the hours that you want to work. And I very much hope that ICB can be there, and the community will also be there to support you.